Thank you, Anton. So I'm going to have a little talk about collaborative security and ISOC's approach to security in general, and also this initiative that was already mentioned a couple of times in this event called Manners, so on routing security. And this is a presentation that will be quite heavily targeting network operators. So I would like to start by asking, how many network operators do we have in the room? Who is running networks? 1, 2, quite a few. 5, or maybe the others are sleeping. So just to put things into context, ISOC launched some 6 months ago, earlier this year, its strategy on, or approach on security, which is called the collaborative security approach. And it's a very high-level framework, and the whole idea is that this would be the kind of overall principled approach that we use when we discuss various programs to do with security, with governments, with industry, and also with end users. And one of the first initiatives based on this collaborative framework that we launch, which hopefully will deliver concrete results, is Manners. So Manners is something that was launched actually went by the name of Routing Resilience Manifesto. And the whole idea is to try and engage network operators to voluntarily improve routing security. So the state of routing security. So Manners stands for Mutually Agreed Norms for Routing Security. And as I said already, it's a voluntary bottom-up agreement between network operators. So we're looking at operators to voluntarily engage and want to improve routing security. And we also want to build a visible community of security-minded operators. So we're living in a current environment where security is a big thing. Everybody's talking about security. So we believe that if operators are promoting this kind of thing, it's going to be good for their reputation. It's going to be good for their customers as well, of course. And then, more concretely, this initiative, it outlines 4 initiatives or actions that these operators should implement if they want to become part of this initiative. And I will now briefly run you through these actions. And we call them good manners, which is a nice kind of play on words. So first we have filtering. So there are, if you would like to get involved, there are a couple of measures to prevent propagation of incorrect routing information. So for example, you would be expected to determine a clear routing policy, so as to make it clear, how are you communicating with your customers. Second pillar is anti-spoofing. So again, a couple of measures. You would be expected to implement a couple of measures to prevent traffic with spoofed source IP addresses. And that would be, one measure would be, for example, anti-spoofing filtering. The last 2 activities is more about the visibility and the transparency of this. So coordination. It is very important that if there is an incident, that the other party of the incident knows where to contact you. So the recommendation here is that you should have your contact details for security, for cyber incidents, whatever, easily available on your website. And if you're part of the Manners community, you could even have a little Manners section on your website. And also then the global validation. So the whole idea is that, it's a global thing, but acted locally. So you should also then publish your routing policy and also your ASNs and prefixes, so that you have a kind of global validation of your routing information. So there's a lot of material on this. If you check the website, it's explained in very much technical detail, and this is the basis for Manners. Now, where are we today? So we have to my knowledge, about 30 participants today. This is just a screenshot from the website who have engaged and signed up. And there are very big players like KPN from the Netherlands or Comcast for the US, RIPE-NCC, who is co-hosting us here today. From Eastern Europe, there are only 2 operators to my knowledge. And both are Russian, so there's an operator called Royalcom, And then there's RUNET that you see on this slide. Now, we would very much like to see also other operators from Eastern Europe to join, and especially Ukraine, being a large country with a somewhat healthy telco market, as far as I can see, with large players. I think it would be really great if you would, step in and take a stance and become an example in security and engage with us in this initiative. And it's not also just administration, so it's not just to sign the document and you get your name on the website and that's it, but it's really a commitment. So it is really a sign that the company supports the security principles and implements at least one of these 4 pillars that I just showed you on the previous slide. So we're not again expecting that you would go and say, okay, we will do all these things at the same time, because we understand that it requires resources and also time, but that you would at least take the first step and start implementing something, and then as time goes by, surely you will try and make the rest of it happen. And the other thing is as well that security landscape changes, of course, very rapidly. So we would also expect feedback from you. So, to become part of the community, to say what are the new threats? Is this any more valid? Do you have new ideas? So to become part of the kind of back and forth communication between the global and the regional and local operators. Now, by now you must be saying, well, we do security, I'm not sure, we're not going to bother with this. And here is the reasoning, well, why should my company join? So routing security is the sum of all contributions. So the more companies we can engage, the more secure the routing base will be. And this is not going to be done overnight. But I think, as going back to my first slide on the collaborative security, which is all about think globally, act locally. It's all about collective responsibility. So this is really a great way to demonstrate that voluntary bottom-up collective responsibility. So we don't need a government to do top-down regulation on security, but we take action and do it ourselves. Also, secondly, because it's a way to demonstrate a new baseline. So I think we're seeing that consumers, your customers, are becoming more aware of the security issues. So, it's no longer sufficient just to deliver something, and hope that it gets there, but really to try and lift the baseline for security in terms of routing. And then because community has gravity, that can attract others. So the more people are engaged in the community, the more talk there will be, the faster we will accelerate progress in this area. So this was my little talk in brief. And I know that not all of you are maybe in a position to sign up immediately today. So we have these lovely flyers here that I have brought with me, outlining all the actions and also the website. So if you would like to take one, I have, and you can have one. I already gave one to the colleague here, and he said, well, you have a very large business card. I said, well, it's not my business card. So please, you can come and get one. And yes, I see that Jan there, my colleague, has a question. Jan, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, it's not a question, it's more as a comment, if I may, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I observed very interesting way of using manners. There is one Pan-African operator, very large operator in Africa. They're actually thinking of putting the manners requirement in all their peering contracts. So whenever they peer with somebody, they put in the contract, you must obey what is written in the manners document. And then, it is, I think this is also a great way not just to support manners and sign up, but also to use it with your peers and say, look, if you don't behave, then, we will just cut the peering with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good point.
Maarit, у меня на самом деле вопрос не... Maarit, sorry, I have a question not to you, but to local operator. We have here
Perfect.
Maxim Tuliev from NetAssist. And I know that NetAssist is trying to follow all new initiatives in industry, so the question to NetAssist. Maybe he would support manners.
Спите на лекции, товарищи. Probably yes, because of its very interesting initiative. But to sign this, I should read it carefully and look out what it's about. Because, to be honest, I see it first time in my life.
You don't need to sign it. Just follow it.
Just follow.
It is not strange. It's the first time we're presenting this in Ukraine, so you are not behind.
But in general, it's a very good idea.
Sorry?
In general, it's a very good idea to do such initiative.
Yes, we believe so.
Actually, very common mistake. You don't need to sign anything. You just need to do something and promise to. I saw that you did that. Just promise, you know.
Colleagues, really, the document is not a 500-page volume. It's really small. There are 4 concrete points. There are concrete recommendations. Following my personal experience, we have events in various cities, and very often all those questions and pretensions, claims to the colleagues usually are reflected somehow, like there's no information, there's no contact information published in the right database or any other sources. Why don't you publish them yourself, these contact details, DDoS attacks? Why don't you perform the filtering? Why didn't you spend 10 minutes of time to somehow at least make the RPKI raw to protect your autonomous system? All these things are done quickly. They don't take that much time. It's just a culture, it's just a mentality issue. If you are able to devote a very small portion of time, really like one day and several hours a year, to look through your contact details, contact information, to watch that everything is okay there, the world will be much better, and we'll be able to avoid a lot of problems. Well, I would like to object. Well, I'm going to spend one day of my employer to update the contact details that doesn't affect the routing, and tomorrow I'm going to have a 100 gigabit DDoS attack, and what then? The world would not get better because of this. But if you don't do this, you may become a source of DDoS attack, you see? Somebody maybe using your name will start the DDoS attack. What do you say about that? Questions? Спасибо.